I'll take it, 20 seconds.
Can I go on one more? May I?
Go!
I'll be speedy. Did you see my speed?
Kind of mind-boggling.
Can't see me.
No!
Hey, do you know about the USA? Do you know about the government? Can you tell me about the Constitution?
Okay, whatever, if you like this song or not, I know nothing about it, but on these speakers, it sounds great. Especially if they're holding a phone up to this. Who'd rather listen to the preamble to the Constitution? Everybody, it's unanimous.
Hey, do you know about the USA? Do you know about the government? Can you tell me about the Constitution? Hey, learn about the USA. In 1787, I'm told our founding fathers did agree to write a list of principles for keeping people free. The USA was just starting out a whole brand new country, and so our people spelled it out, the things that we should be. And they put those principles down on paper and called it the Constitution. And it's been helping us run our country ever since then. The first part of the Constitution is called the Preamble and tells what those founding fathers set out to do. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. In 1787, I'm told our founding fathers all sat down and wrote a list of principles that's known the world around. The USA was just starting out a whole brand new country, and so our people spelled it out. They wanted a land of liberty, and the preamble goes like this. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America, for the United States of America.
One more time. No.
Let's go. One more.
All right. So, as rumor has it, you have homework due.
But it's not due till Monday. That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
Yeah. So, here's the deal. Federalist number 10, if you have it today, I'll collect it, or I'll collect it on Monday. Because I gave another period for another reason, another day. So if you have it on a separate sheet of paper, turn it in. If you don't have it, give it on Monday, so I can just quick it and write it. Yeah, just we'll talk about it. So make sure your name is on it. Cougar, yep. All right. Beautiful. Name. Very good. Name. We might listen to another Schoolhouse Rock.
Yes.
Monday. Hand them up if you have it. If you don't have it, that's because I was a little bit, I had to make some changes because stuff happened in another period. Are you a fan of the professional football team in Kansas City or just generic football in Kansas City? So I was going to say, and I was worried about the Kansas City, Kansas, but it's Kansas City, Missouri.
There you are.
With Mo on it. Anybody else have it? If not, I'll collect it on Monday. Did everyone hear that? So I get these. All right, good job. And yes, I've been a fan of them for, well over 50 years. We went through some really bad years. You remember that 77 season, right? Yeah. 2-12. Oh. It was a bad team. Okay, good. I can't figure out how the paper clip works. All right, everybody. So went through all the preamble, everything for the Constitution, and too much of the Constitution for kids.
Let's do it.
Just random stuff off the YouTube. So this was on my desk. I have no idea who gave it to me, but I do like the fact that somebody wrote down, I identify as a Kit Kat, even though it's Ghirardelli chocolate. I thought that's very clever. And you know what? You're a Kit Kat. Okay. So we got Republic. Why didn't they want radical change? Radical change meant what? If there's no radical change, what will happen? Yeah, it would keep the people in power, and that's why, one of the reasons why so many elderly people remain in power year after year after year. Now, that doesn't make it bad. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing at all wrong with that. The problem is that it becomes difficult to change if somebody who's been there for a long time is starting to ossify, petrify, or just downright corrupt. And we have no majority rule. Did we go through, the other compromises? So how long would they not touch the slave trade? And why is it so difficult to amend the Constitution, or to amend it? What do you have to do to amend it? 2/3 of what? And then how many states? Yeah. So how many amendments are there? Yeah, and 11 of them were written back in 1790. It's almost impossible. And we'll talk about a few of them. And we'll talk about some amendments. Obviously, we're not going to cover everyone in here. I did mention I got the Roman Senate. That's a painting, supposedly, of Caesar's last speech. Yeah, before.
Nothing goes wrong.
Yeah. Radical change, Andrew Jackson. The Establishment Clause, no establishment of what? Yes, in no kind of state religion. That's because they knew their history. And it wasn't anti or pro-religion or anything like that. It was, we don't want another 30 years war. Which, it's understandable why that would terrify them. So we did the preamble, we did that. So let's get to the rap battle. Oh, by the way, it is Flamingo Friday. Flamingo. But every day is rat day, correct? Every day. The rap battle. The ratification. They wrote, which is hilarious, I think, only going to accept 9 states. Only 9 states. Remember, the Articles of Confederation required 13. But to ratify, they need the big 3. It doesn't matter if they get 9 states, 9 small states. If they don't get the most populous 3 states at that time, the government won't fly. So that's what they need. And so this will be the battle. And very quickly divided into 2 sides. And the side for the Constitution has a clear advantage. Clear advantage. Because they want one thing. Just the Constitution. We might disagree, but we just want the Constitution now. That gives them an advantage. Oh, and this is one of the hilarious little things I found on the internet. I was looking for a different picture and I found this. And I just love these simplistic little things that they put up I guess, to give the people. Don't trust things on the internet. I like when it has the anti-federalists were the middle and lower class. For some reason, they put a bowler hat, but yeah, that's what I wear to signify my membership of the working class. But they didn't even have the right to vote. So I just find that whole thing kind of amusing. And this is supposed to be generic Hamilton. You can't see. I guess this is a compilation of Jefferson, Patrick Henry, George Mason, and Richard Henry Lee. That's if you put the faces together, you have that. That's terrifying. So let's get to this. The Federalists. They were pro the Constitution. And obviously there's a lot of Federalists we can mention, but we're just going to name a few because they'll impact in the history. We've had them in the past. Washington, of course. Hamilton, even though he really wasn't at the convention at all, New York delegation left, so Hamilton couldn't be there. He came back for one day, demanded a king, then left. But he was really for the strong central government. John Adams, and I had to put, you notice I didn't put Adams, but Sam Adams was completely opposed. And James Madison. And this is more representative of urban. Now, urban is still relatively really small towns. And of course, in Montana, do we even have an urban area? Besides the big city, I mean, Billings. That's big time. But it more represented the merchant class, but there were plantation owners like Madison in there. Now, one important thing, there's going to be two political parties coming pretty soon, the Federalists and the Republicans. The Federalists that are the political parties, not the same as these Federalists. So you have to put it in context. When it is talking about the Federalists and the Constitution, that means these are people for the Constitution, not the party that comes. Because Hamilton's going to be one of the leaders of the political party that comes, called the Federalists, and Madison will be the leader of the opposition party, known as the Republicans. As luck would have it, not the same as the Republicans today. Keep things simple. And a couple of the reasons, or a couple of things they wanted. First off, strong central government and executive. They kept demanding, we need strong leadership. They weren't hiding this. This is what they wanted. And they wanted to regulate commerce and foreign affairs. These are all problems we talked about. The trade wars and no one to speak for the country, no one to enforce the Treaty of Paris. Guys like George Washington wanted to enforce the Treaty of Paris because they wanted Ohio. Got to tax. Got to go to print money, control the money supply, control inflation, deflation. And don't forget one more thing about this, I almost forgot. Strong executive, strong government to put down rebellions like Shays. Don't forget that rebellion. And then something else. Remember the speculators. They have bonds. They need a strong central government with the power to tax so they get their money back. Bonds. And then, no democracy. That government of a better sort. Protect, and they started saying this more and more. This will become one of the cries. Protect the minority from the majority. Protect the minority. Now, that is actually an issue. If you have majority rule, there could be people in the minority that might not be protected. But Madison, he wrote in Federalist Number 10, we will protect the majority. I'm sorry, that's the majority? We will protect the minority. And the minority he cared about was that whole distribution of property, meaning you protect what kind of people? Slaveholders, property owners, wealth, the upper class. Because there's not as many. What person was Madison a part of? So with that, one thing I forgot. This is going to be a common refrain. It's from a Massachusetts newspaper. And it showed it like the Roman Republic with the columns, and this was becoming a style called the Republican style, or the classical style, with the columns to hold up your building, or AKA hold up the state. And they need all the states, you notice that. These are, Delaware was the first,
These are the states that ratified, and now it's up to Massachusetts, one by one. And you notice the little cloud? That's supposed to be a cloud. And what's that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so some kind, if it be for more religious people, literally the hand of God. For the deist, the creator has allowed us to do that. Depending on your point of view, but that's what it means. Next, part of the ratification battle, I have no idea why I wrote ratification battle again, the anti-federalists. These were opposed to the Constitution. And this is a much more diverse group, and for various reasons. Patrick Henry, I know not what path others will take. But for me, give me liberty or give me death. His famous statement. Yes, he was a slaveholder. And of course, Sam Adams. Sam Adams was quite ill by then. So his influence was waning. George Mason of Virginia, he was at the convention, but he actually didn't like what came out of it. And this is more rural. Now, once again, to our point of view, everything would be rural, but still, it's more rural interest. Doesn't mean there's not crossover. And the problem they have is this. The Federalists, all they have to do is say simply, this is the Constitution and this is what we stand for. This document right here, this is what we stand for. So they can disagree on all kinds of stuff, but all they care about is this. We'll worry about the rest later. Anti-Federalists, they have all kinds of different reasons, and they don't agree. So, Mason cared about Bill of Rights. Patrick Henry cared about militias. They have different points of view, so that makes them more divided. You'll see this a lot. The best example would be, the best example of this where the opposition would be so divided they didn't have any power would be in the Russian Revolution that allowed this little tiny group of Bolsheviks to take power. So, first thing, you can't see the states, but it feared the central government, feared the strong executive. But they have lots of reasons. Some say, we don't want a tyrant. Some, because the states, and that's supposed to be an arrow going down, the states would lose power. They're thinking, if the states lose power, and I'm part of the head of the state, the governor or member of the state assembly, I lose power. There's a big difference between real fear of tyranny and I don't want to lose power. So that makes it by definition divided. I'm gonna move this thing down. That's a rat.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yes. Okay. Next, they feared the merchant class, the elite. Now, I originally put down elite, and you'll see elite, but they were elite. They just felt they weren't represented. They feared that merchant class. Now, part of it is that they feared the merchant class taking power because they believed that people should have power. Some, they just want to protect big plantations. And that's a difference. They want plantation owners to be in charge, or we want all people to have a voice. So they both fear central government, but it doesn't mean they all want democracy. And you'll see this in the 1830s, 1840s. It'll pull up the party called the Whigs, the same reason. So this is going to happen time after time. So they are kind of divided by this. Where's my wrap? Okay, fear dual taxation. Fear dual taxation. The states have all the power. By the way, do you remember that? What is it called? Where the federal government has power, then the states have power is not delegated to it. What do you call that? Someone said it, I think. What? Say it again. Those are the listed powers enumerated. What is it called? You have the federal government is supreme. All powers that go to them go to the states, so they have their own separate powers. Yeah, that's federalism. And it doesn't say states can't tax, so of course states are going to tax. And the power to tax is the power to destroy. So that gives the government a lot of power. When the United States passed prohibition, which was the 18th Amendment, and said they could ban the sale of alcohol, well, the federal government really didn't have a police force to do that. So they put 1,000% tax on the sale of alcohol. So if you sell $1 worth of alcohol, you got to pay $10 in tax. Can't stay in business. That's the power of the strong. So that's what they did. That's how they enforce it. And they sent out agents to go stop them who are avoiding the tax, called bootleggers. That just means avoiding the tax. And they were treasury agents because the US government collects taxes. Next, they wanted a Bill of Rights. I put one. Wanted a Bill of Rights. They wanted a Bill of Rights. And George Mason, but especially Thomas Jefferson. Now you notice I didn't put Jefferson up here. Jefferson, like so many things, Jefferson was very famous for straddling the fence, trying to take both sides. He feared the strong central government, but also saw reasons for it. And his big thing, he wanted a new enumerated Bill of Rights, just like the states have. Now Madison, who they were friends, going to become even closer friends, Madison basically wrote him because Jefferson is still in Paris. It's implied in the Constitution. We don't need a Bill of Rights. Well, Jefferson didn't buy that. And then the militia. The militia was huge. States controlled the militia, but the Constitution says the federal government will arm and regulate, train the militia. So it's unclear if the states are in control. So many of the states, New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, wanted to control their militia. That was an important state thing. But something else. These states really wanted to control their militia because of their fear of what? Yes. Slave rebellion. So the militia was more than just the slave rebellion, but the most strident for it were the southern states about militia. And so, got that, everyone good? Okay, I took this picture of you guys a couple of days ago, or a couple of weeks ago. You've really matured. Wow. I mean, it's amazing. Time marches on. Time marches on. Look at him. Look at him. I'm just going to say this, and I think you're all going to agree. I don't trust her. You know she's really smart and she's up to no good, right? I don't trust her. And I repeat, she's sharp as a tack. Let's do a brainstorm list. You notice I put BS, junior high humor. But do you want to do a brainstorm list? We got to practice this. Are you ready? Are you as excited as I am? Yeah. Let's do a practice one first. Everyone cool on a practice one? Analyze the tastiest foods. I thought I'd help you out by getting the old taste buds flowing. Get those juices. Okay, this is from a recipe book from the 1950s, and the people who put it out, all they put for the name of this one was question mark. I think it's supposed to be salmon. I don't know. All right, so this is what I want you to do. Brainstorm list. Write down 10 to 15 things just in your margin, just about food. You know, what makes food taste good to you? Or what makes food the best? And it could, there's all kinds of things. And then what kind of food do you like? Just 10, 50 things real fast. Just write it down. Obviously, you're going to put down Spam and lima beans. I have this book the book of regrettable foods. It's hilarious. All these bad recipes. We will do a unit on that in special topics. That'll be a one-day thing. We want to look at that food. 15 quick things. What kind of food you like, but also what makes food good to you. And yes, you can use taste, even though that's part of the question. Of course you can. But it's more than just taste, isn't it? I'll give you an example of what I mean by more than just taste. This might taste great. Anybody want to eat it? And I have no idea what the green stuff is.
No, that's too.
Okay, 50 things real quick. Yeah.
Mashed lettuce.
So my special topics class, somebody made that once, but they made it actually with like, they made a cake. And they made it look like that. So it looked, but it was a cake. It was really good. It's actually a pretty clever idea.
Maybe that's just a cake that.
It is.
Red velvet.
It's some kind of fish.
It's the green.
Does everyone have 15 things? Everyone 10 to 15 things? All right, let's go. Just give me some. Give me some. Go ahead. Anybody? Yeah. Huh?
Brand.
The brand. Yeah, that is actually important. What else? Yeah. Huh? Yeah, your culture. You know, what kind of food you're. In fact, I didn't even write that down when I was. I dropped. That's a really good one. Yeah. Yeah, texture. That's really important. Like for years, I couldn't eat avocados because they just so slimy. I finally got over it. They're awesome. Yeah. Say it again. Yeah. Something that reminds you when you're a little kid and happier times. Yeah, that's a really important one. Yeah. Appearance is really important. That looks awesome. Yeah. Yeah. We all know something my initial good taste. Sure. The other one.
Process.
Yeah, if they're processed, very good. Yeah. Nutrition. Yeah. And then we can have apple. If we put down Kit Kats. Oh. Candy, good. Chicken. Radishes. Haggis. Anybody put haggis?
Blue dye 1.
Red dye number 1. Was this carcinogenic?
No.
Yeah, when I was your age, there were no red M&Ms because people thought it might have that, huh? Squirrel.
Live.
I did find this weird fish head stew from England, and I decided not to show you that picture. All right, so that's an example of one. Let me show you something real quick. So let's say you're doing this, you're writing an essay. I know this is going to be fun, isn't it? Now you're all like, yeah, happy food. Oh, essay. Hey, that's life, right? So, if you're going to make an outline, this is something that years been doing this, and so I put a bunch of things down. You know, it's number 1, Kit Kat. And right here in the margin, these are things you could use or trigger memories. And then, the important parts of an essay, when you actually do write an essay, the most important part is your thesis statement. We will start next week and start talking about how we need thesis statements. I know you know what one is, but there's certain things we need in here. Thesis statement. And I just put down taste, texture, appearance, but I really like nostalgia. I really like culture. That's actually better than your texture and appearance could go together. Yeah, that's really good. And then your outline. And you notice what I did is I put taste, that'll be my thesis, but that's going to be here. Texture, appearance. What are these? Those are my paragraphs. Everyone got that? Everyone got that? So a paragraph on this, a couple examples and why you're related back to the question, a couple of why, a couple of examples, we'll explain it, a couple of examples, why it relates to this. Everyone get that? Just the basic of an essay, right? Is that kind of clear on everybody? I mean, you can have a slightly different format in this, and that's fine. But when you outline, you're going to have to kind of lay out your paragraphs, what you're going to put in it. And the brainstorm list, by putting it here, I just have a quick reference. I might not use them all in for examples, but remember the brainstorm list is just a trigger of memory. Now let's look at this one more time. Taste, texture, and appearance. Do you remember when we did short IDs? Isn't that essentially a short ID? Yeah, that's why short IDs are the building block to an essay. That's why I give those. I'm just trying to get you the main things you need in a body paragraph. Of course, there'll be, you have to adjust it to what the question is, but that's essentially the same thing. So that's all an essay is. When we do something called a DBQ, that's all it is too. You just have to add how you use documents in there. So, look good? So I'll come back, we'll do this again, because we're going to have to write an essay very soon. One more thing, what is the perfect food? Of course, it's a Kit Kat.
What's the 3D ed environment?
It's from Britain. That they weren't on the, this ad is from, it must be about 1952, and they weren't on the decimal system yet for the currency. Their money made no sense at all.
Okay, interesting.
Huh? That's money.
That's the price.
Yeah, that's the price. Britain was not on the decimal system.
Oh, that's.
Yeah, pounds, shillings, pence, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So why is
No, it's
it?
$3.50.
That big equivalent of like.
It's not pounds, it's shillings and it's shillings and pence. I mean pence. But one thing I'll tell you real fast about Kit Kats, since we gotta know something about Kit Kats, right? Kit Kats, what do we need to know? They were invented to be a snack for working people. So you're working, you quick break off and eat it while you're working. In Britain. That's why it's great. And one more thing. As I've told you before, it has your two most important, in fact, the only important food groups. Do you see them? Your chocolate food group and your wafer food group. You need nothing else to survive. Shall we do a real brainstorm list? The answer is yes. Okay, so 10 things. Now, wait a second. Your brainstorm list doesn't need to be about the compromises itself. I mean, you want to put some of the compromises, but you can write things about the whole thing about writing because you're trying to trigger memories. What was the government before? What caused the Constitutional Convention? Which Constitutional Convention could be one. There's always going to be a few things within it, just 1 or 2 words, quick list, try to get 10 now. Now, try not to look in your notes. If you're stuck at like 6 or 7, go back and look, but hopefully trigger memories. I gave you the 3 compromises already. We talked about ratification too. Quick 10 minutes. I'll turn the light on. People whine so much.
People out there.
Yeah, okay. Here's all constructive criticism. If you can get 10 to 15 things, that should be more, it should be easy. Hey, 3 of the things could be the 3 compromises. And then a couple things about each compromise, or things in your brainstorm list. Heck, you could even put that philosopher who talked about certain separations. I think I'm on legal pad. In college, you're sort of using legal pads all the time. And remember, do you remember the compromises? I gave you 3 of them. One was about, God, there's different sizes of states. It's so weird. And don't forget to, a brainstorm list doesn't need to have everything that's you're going to put in your essay. You just watch the school off rock on it's not Constitution. How many do you have? All right, does everyone have 10 to 15? Huh? Okay, you have a quick look and get 10. What was the name of the government before the Constitution? That's one. What was the rebellion? That's one. Little Latin. Let's do it. Let's talk about it really quick. So, go ahead and look at yours. Okay, who has one? We'll start right there. Yeah, two. Slavery. Yeah. The issue. Yeah. Yeah. 3/5 compromise. That's one of the compromise. Yeah, Greta.
The great.
What's that? Say it again.
The great.
Great compromise. Yes, Maria.
Bicameral.
Very good. Bicameral. Yes. Mobocracy. Yes. There's another one. Yes. Yeah, large and small. Do anybody have the actual names of the state plans? What two states? Virginia and New Jersey, yeah. But that's fine. It's big state, small state. That has it. Yeah.
Montesquieu.
Say it again.
Montesquieu.
Yeah, Montesquieu. That separation of powers thing. And you don't need to write that. Hopefully you say Montesquieu, oh yeah, separation of powers. And hopefully, executive, like, you can write that down. But the whole goal is to trigger memories. Yeah.
Shays Rebellion.
Shays' Rebellion, good, yeah. Yeah, Sherman, who wrote the Great Compromise. Any others? Yes.
Taxation.
Yeah, taxation.
Slave trade compromise.
Yeah, slave trade compromise. Very good. Yeah.
I think it was the better sort or something.
Government of the better sort. Yeah. Any others? Say it again.
No radical.
Yeah, no radical change. They're going to put separation of powers. Good, separation of powers. And Montesquieu kind of implies that. And if you put down the Supreme Court. But you could, right? Anybody put down electors? You don't have to, but that is a good one. Because electors would be a good one to talk about that separation of powers. Anybody put down 20 years? Yeah, 20 years for banning the slave trade. Now, once you write it down, if you wrote the slave trade compromise, hopefully you'll remember and you'll go through. The whole point is just get stuff down. If you can do 10 to 15. So if I ask you real fast, 10 to 15 things, it shouldn't be no sweat. And yeah, we can do fun ones, but also ones, they really do help. And this is a good way to review what we just did in class. Literally that day, go back, quick, go through it and try to come up with 10 to 15 things. It doesn't take that long. You know why that's important? Because if you don't, when you actually do study for the test, it'll be exponentially harder. Because you have to go back, and it's almost like learning it again, because how many classes do you have? How much stuff do we go over? Just a little bit of reinforcement, it'll stick easier. All right. That's good. And so, he's the leader. He's the leader. And we'll get to thesis statements and all that kind of stuff. I know you're excited. Hey, I try to give you like tools to use and chunk it up to make it easier. That's at least my goal. So, they actually got 9 states. Here's that one, the same thing, and you notice they got 9. But they still didn't have Virginia or New York. Pennsylvania actually voted right away. I should add, the abbreviations, VA, all those, VA for Virginia, MT for Montana, all of those didn't come about to the 1970s.
What is the club doing to New York?
I don't have any idea. Yeah, aliens. Oh, that explains everything. Aliens. Chariots of the Gods. That's a book that says that all ancient civilizations were actually influenced by aliens. Aliens built the pyramids. Yeah, that whole, which we know is true because it's on the History Channel. So with that, Virginia, their big sticking points with that militia and the Bill of Rights. That was the biggest issue there. And Madison finally said, Madison promised, I'll do it. I'll give you a Bill of Rights. That didn't really appease Mason that much, but Jefferson dropped his opposition. And once that happened, it could pass just barely in the Virginia House. And then New York. New York was the last one. Oh, almost forgot something. So they got 9. Yeah, they need these 2. They can't go. New York, there's a wide variety of reasons. Wide variety of reasons to be opposed to it. Everything from they did want the militia. It was a little bit the rural New York fear of tyranny. It was New York state government really wanted to maintain their power. Lots of reasons. But the Federalist Papers then would be written as a series of documents that would be published in pamphlets and in newspapers anonymously, yet everyone knew who they were, to try to convince the New York State Assembly to vote for it. So it's not to convince just New York, not to convince the people of New York. No, that tiny group of assemblymen in their one house that voted on this. It was written by 3 people. Madison, who wasn't even from New York, he was from Virginia, Alexander Hamilton, and John Jay. Madison and Hamilton wrote most of them. And they're not really allies, but they want one thing, the Constitution. And it will turn out that these 2 are going to be mortal enemies very soon. But at first, they just wanted this. And so here's one of the examples of the Federalists, and it kind of talks about here by Philo Publius, Roman references to Roman Senate. Yeah. He was one of the people there. He was a patriot from New York. A random, well, not a random guy. And and he would be the first Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Yeah. So he was a prominent Federalist. He's one of the people, there's a lot of people we haven't talked about him. Yeah, they just liked his name because there's the alliteration, JJ, yeah. That's the only reason. And Jay's a pretty good name. I mean, you got to admit, that's a pretty good name. I trust people named Jay. So, this laid out the benefits of the Constitution. Benefits of the Constitution. I don't know why they put it out there. The benefits of the Constitution. Now, this is going to be used from then on to give examples of what the founders believed the Constitution would do, all the good things about the Constitution. So next, you may have to read part of 1 in class, or for homework. Federalist number 10 we'll talk about on Monday. And when you get, most of you will be taking AP Government, you're going to have to read a number of Federalist papers. And in college, if you get into political science, you have to read the Federalist papers. When people talk about the government today, they'll say, in the Federalist Papers, they said that the government will do these things. And either saying, that's a good thing or a bad thing, because the Federalist Papers. Well, this misses the point of the Federalist Papers. And this is one of the reasons why a historical context is really important. They're not writing this as the benefits of the Constitution because they believed it, or the only benefits, or this is what they wanted. No. They're laying this out as propaganda, a biased point of view. They're not putting everything down. They might not even believe this. This is not a true vision of exactly what they wanted. This is their vision of what a tiny group in the New York State Assembly wants. That's what they're doing. They want to sell this to the state assembly. So they're saying, okay, this is the people in the state assembly. Let's find things in the Constitution that individual members want, because we don't need them all. We just need 1 over the majority. I'm sorry, 1 over the 50%. I believe there were 60 total, but not all of them voted. So we need 1 over that. I'm sorry, 59. There are 59 in it. That's what we need. So we need 30. We don't care how we get it. That's what we need. And that means sell it to this small group of elite. What did the elite want? The elite wanted to protect their property. The elite wanted a stable system where they'll get their money back, or their bonds back, or the system of taxation. It amuses me when people read these and talk about this is their high vision of the government. No, it's advertising. It doesn't mean that they didn't believe that, but it is intensely biased. And that's why when people pull documents off of the past and read them as these holy writ, no. The Constitution was not this glorious document written by these people on high who were on this ivory tower. No, it was a bunch of hammered out compromises that no one liked. Doesn't mean it's bad, but that's the way the sausage is made. You know what I'm referring to. Otto von Bismarck said, people really don't want to be interested in how the laws are created. Nobody wants to see the sausage being made. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go look at sausage being made. Moving on. So that's where we get Federalist number 10, which we will talk about in class Monday, but let's get to the ratification. That was enough to get New York. Oh, right here. So New York did pass it. Virginia, because Madison promised the bill. New York, it was enough. They got Virginia, and they got New York by 3. And now we have an expert on the Bill of Rights to give you a little bit. Yeah. Just for now, yeah. Just an 8 question. And so, Virginia did, or New York and Virginia, look how close the vote was. 89 to 79, 30 to 27. And once that happened, once New York ratified it, boom, that became the law of the land. The articles were thrown out. So this was kind of a coup almost. And the funny thing was, North Carolina didn't do it for a really long time. And there was already a president, a House of Representatives, a Congress, and Rhode Island hadn't ratified yet. Or Rhode Island, nobody cared. And that's how it became the government. It got the ratification. So 1789, and almost immediately they had a quick election for House and the Senate. They quick picking of, they had to do a quick census. Then they had to do House and the Senate, electors. We'll get to that in 1 second. And then James Madison was elected to the United States House of Representatives. Madison was elected to the House of Representatives, and he became the first Speaker of the House. And the Speaker of the House is a position in the Constitution. There has to be a Speaker. Other than that, they can make up their own rules. Huh? There's no Speaker now. And boy, is it going to be, it's going to be chaotic. It's, some Republicans want, it doesn't say they have to be a member of the House, so some want Donald Trump, and he is like hinting he'll do it for a short run. Some want a guy named Jim Jordan who has a really shaky background, covering up sexual abuse of wrestlers who needs a coach at Ohio State. Yeah. And we won't go into details, I don't need to. And then the other guy is a guy who said that he was David Duke without the baggage. Does anybody know who David Duke was? He was the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I've never seen anything like this in my life. As I said before, it was so easy. You guys have so much fun. You get to ride the wave. I'm not saying I'm jealous. Moving on. So this next era will be called the Federalist era. The Federalist era, 1789 to 1901, the creation of this government. And does anybody know who those 5 guys are? Okay, we know this one, right? Who's that? George Washington. Who's that? Jefferson. Who's that? Madison. Who's this? Hamilton. Who's that? John Adams. We'll get back to him. But here's the thing. Madison started writing 12 amendments. He started writing them. They would be altered a little bit, but these 12 amendments would eventually become the Bill of Rights. And why did I put Madison there? Because he promised Jefferson. And it's like, oh, do it. And Madison really wanted a strong central government. And so there's a few that are written really weirdly. One is written literally as gobbledygook on purpose. It makes no sense. It's not written in law. It makes James so mad he left. So, you see these little things, and this is from an overhead you put on the projector and shoot it up from 1971. And it said, the freedom of speech and religion and assembly, the right to bear arms. And that's what people think of the Bill of Rights, but they're much more complex. For example, nowhere does it say there's freedom of speech. Nowhere does it say there's freedom of religion. It doesn't say that at all. What does it say? Where did I come from? No, Miles City. That's where all good things come from, that in Nebraska. Here's the first, I know we're about ready to leave, but let me show you, okay, they're written in a weird way. So let me read to you the freedom of speech part. You just have to follow along, okay? It says, Congress shall make no law, we got that? Abridging the freedom of speech. Did everyone catch that? It says, Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. Does it say there's freedom of speech? Or for that matter, does it define speech? So, I can't deprive you of freedom of speech, but I will define speech. So, for example, you cannot walk into a crowded theater and scream, fire, and watch the panic because you think it's fun. Is that freedom of speech? If you had absolute freedom of speech, you could do that. And you'd be a psychopath, but you could do that. What does it say? No, listen, before you go, what does it say? Congress, it just says what? Yeah, so Congress can't say all people with blue eyes can't talk. They can't pass a law like that. They just can't simply say that, but they can define speech. Does that change things? And on that happy note, get out of here. Everybody, check teams, please. Except for Chief, there's not enough room. Yeah, short, a few seconds. It's not a big deal. Get it. Yeah, get it in on. It won't be late. Just get it. Okay? Second time, whatever. I didn't time it. I got to the bell and the bell. Jim, I'm crowds are reading out.
What about all the sisters?
Will you guys leave? I know you don't want to leave. I know you want to stay. Nobody ever wants to leave.
And then the one that just, the burn thing.
I gotta shut the camera off.